Hey there, and welcome to the Herbal Moon Goddess podcast. My name's Kyra, and today we're going to be talking all about Venus retrograde. So, Venus retrograde is a natural phenomenon that occurs roughly every 1.5 years, every 18 months, where Venus appears to go backwards in our sky for about 6 weeks, about 42 days thereabouts. And during this time, everything that Venus rules can kind of not quite go to plan. We can expect some troubles with that. So in today's episode, I'm going to be sharing exactly what you should and shouldn't be doing when Venus is in retrograde, and exactly what's coming up for the Venus retrograde in 2021 when Venus moves backwards through Capricorn. So yeah, Venus retrograde is a natural occurrence, and it's just like, Mercury retrograde, which happens a bit more frequently, about 3 times a year, and Mars retrograde, which happens about once every 2 years. All the planets go into retrograde. But Venus retrograde, Venus actually spends the least amount of time in retrograde than any of the other planets. Like a lot of the other outer planets like Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, they're all in retrograde for about half of the year because of like how fast the Earth is moving compared to how fast they're all moving and our perspective from here on Earth. But because Venus is quite similar to the cycle of Earth, then Venus doesn't go into retrograde quite as often. And when Venus does finally go into retrograde, it's for a relatively short amount of time. So yeah, this is I guess a pretty rare occurrence, but it does happen regularly every 18 months, every 1.5 years. So what happens when Venus goes into retrograde? So as I mentioned before, it's all to do with everything that Venus rules. So Venus is the planet of love, desires, goals, money, the things that we value and desire. So when Venus is going straight, these things are usually going pretty well in our lives because we know what we want and we are clear on our finances and all those other things. We know what we want in our relationships. But then every 1.5 years when Venus goes into retrograde, we have this 6-week period where we kind of maybe get a bit confused about what it is we truly desire or truly value. This is when financial difficulties can arrive, relationship difficulties can also arise, things to do with our beauty and appearance, which is also ruled by Venus. These things may also just not go as we expect. There may be some hiccups there as well. So pretty much the underlying theme of when Venus is in retrograde is about finding out what you truly do want, reviewing what you want so that you can actually figure out what it is that you want. So often that means that for a short period of time when Venus is in retrograde, we may not really know what we want on a deep level. We may think that we know what we want, and then something will happen. Venus retrograde will trigger something to happen here on Earth that will make us reassess what it is that we truly are wanting in this life. So with that said, here are some things that you should not do during Venus retrograde. Okay, number 1, don't text your ex. This is something that Venus retrograde is particularly renowned for. It's exes from like romantic relationships or just other people from your past tend to kind of come back into your life. So this is really important that you understand that if people from your past do come back into your life when Venus is in retrograde, then it's often for closure anything that might bloom here, it can be short-lived. So this is not a good time to be starting new relationships, even if it is with an old flame. Venus retrograde is really not the time for that if you're looking for something that's going to last a bit longer. Other things not to do, trying to conceive. If you're trying to have a baby, Venus retrograde is probably not the best time for you to do that, as Venus is also associated with fertility and conception. So if you're trying to conceive when Venus is in retrograde, then the universe is kind of working against you there. So just maybe stop trying for those 6 weeks if that's something that you're trying to do. Other things not to do are things like investments. Don't make big investments with your money. Don't do big purchases. Like, don't go out and spend lots of money on luxurious items or like high-end things, like those things that you've been saving up for and then you spend a lot of money on them. Whatever that is for you, just avoid doing that while Venus is in retrograde. Because like I said before, you don't really know what you want when Venus is in retrograde. So chances are if you do make a big purchase, you're not going to be happy with it later when Venus goes direct again. So just avoid that at all if you can when Venus is in retrograde. Other things to avoid are beauty treatments, especially major beauty treatments. If you need to go see someone or go have like a haircut, or I don't know, but whatever those big sort of beauty treatments are for you, avoid that when Venus is in retrograde. Again, Venus rules beauty, so you don't want to be messing around with major beauty treatments that would have a lasting effect when Venus is in retrograde, because chances are it may just not work out. It may kind of backfire on you as Venus goes direct. So avoid doing those things when Venus is in retrograde. Pretty much avoid starting anything to do with love, money, beauty, pleasure, conception, creativity as well. New creative projects should not really be started when Venus is in retrograde either. It all really comes down to not really knowing what you want, not really knowing your end goal as well, like what it is that you're working towards. So it's best to just wait until things feel a bit more clearer when Venus goes direct. So now that I've told you all the things not to do when Venus is in retrograde, here are some things that you can do during Venus retrograde. And by doing these things, you'll be working in alignment with that energy. Like, retrogrades happen for a reason. They give us these opportunities to review things in our lives, to go back and, maybe pick up on things that we missed when the planet went over that spot the first time. So when Venus is in retrograde, it's probably, I guess, the most important thing to do is work on the most important relationship in your life, which is the relationship with yourself. We put, I guess, like a lot of energy and time and commitment into relationships with others, but we can tend to neglect ourselves. So Venus retrograde really gives you that opportunity to direct your energy inward, to give yourself more love and give yourself more attention and all those other things that you really deserve, rather than trying to please others all the time. Making yourself a priority is really one of the best things that you can do when Venus is in retrograde. Of course, when any planet is in retrograde, think about like those RE words, the words that start with RE. So like retrograde, you've also got reflect, review, rediscover. It's all about going back and doing something again. So when Venus is in retrograde, this is a really good time to review or reflect on all of those things that Venus is about, such as your finances, maybe reviewing your financial situation, reviewing where money is flowing out and how money is flowing into your life. Maybe reviewing relationships in your life. Are there relationships that need a bit more attention, a bit more love, or are there relationships that need healing? Reflecting on that. Reviewing your goals as well. Like, what are the things that you've been working towards lately, and are they actually still what you want? Like, you know, sometimes we set these goals and we start working towards them, and you know, sometimes they just don't feel aligned, so we just don't follow through with those goals. So maybe there's something there at the moment, or when Venus is in retrograde, that you can go and review and decide whether it's aligned with you or maybe it's not anymore. Also, reviewing your regular beauty routine is something that's really good to do when Venus is in retrograde. Like, you know, maybe you have a regular cleansing routine or exfoliating or shaving, or, you know, whatever it is that you do on a regular basis that, you know, you do to enhance your beauty and enhance your appearance. Maybe just reviewing that and see, you know, is there stuff there that's not serving you, that's really not making a difference to how you look or how you feel? And maybe there's other things that you'd like to maybe add into your regular routine, but avoiding like those big sort of treatments like I discussed before, just focusing on those day-to-day beauty things that you do anyway. Something else that would work really well during Venus retrograde is decluttering, because Venus rules our possessions, like those physical things that we desire and value. Often, you know, things just come into our possession that aren't really aligned with us. They're things that you know, we kind of keep out of obligation, or because we don't know what else to do with it, or because it was gifted to us, or because we spent a lot of money on it, but it actually turns out we don't actually like that thing. So when Venus is in retrograde, it is a really good opportunity for you to go through those possessions, and if there's stuff there that you just really don't like, or it just doesn't really have a place in your home anymore, feel free to declutter that in whatever way fits best. You can gift it to someone else. You could sell it on Marketplace or somewhere. Or you could just, if it's like totally trashed, like, you know, get a skip bin or take it off to the tip or whatever needs to happen so that it's just out of your space. Decluttering your possessions will just free up so much physical space, which will also free up the energy in your area. So this is something that's going to be really beneficial for you to do when Venus is in retrograde. So that's pretty much the do's and don'ts of Venus retrograde, how to work with that energy so that you're working in flow with the universal energy, with, you know, what's going on with the planets. I find that no matter what's happening in the stars, like if we kind of tune into that, then it makes our life so much easier. So being aware of Venus retrograde and the things that you should and maybe shouldn't be doing during that time, it can just help you slip into that flow, that universal flow, a bit easier. So it's something really amazing to bring your awareness to. So now I'm going to talk a bit more specifically about the Venus retrograde for 2021. So in December 21, leading into January in 2022, Venus will be retrograde in Capricorn. So Venus retrograde, that begins on the 19th of December 2021 at about 26 degrees Capricorn. And then Venus will slowly appear to go backwards in our sky until January the 29th, 2022, at around 11 degrees Capricorn. So what we're going to do now is we're going to find out exactly how Venus retrograde in Capricorn is going to affect you on a more personal level. So this part is, quite fun and interactive. So what I'd love for you to do is get your natal chart. If you don't already have a natal chart, You can easily pull up one for free from a website like astro.com or any other website. There is actually heaps out there that do free natal charts. Just Google it, free natal chart, you'll find one. You need to enter in your exact time, date, and location of birth. If you don't know your exact time of birth, that's fine, but your houses just won't be as accurate. So finding your correct time of birth is kind of essential. However, for the purposes of this demonstration or this little activity, having a look at sun houses, so finding the house, where your sun is. For example, if your sun is in Sagittarius, so you're born during December most likely, or November, then Capricorn is going to be your second sun house, because Sagittarius will be your first house, Capricorn will be your second house, Aquarius will be your third house, and so forth. So you can count how many signs away your sun is from Capricorn. So that's an easy kind of way to discover the houses if you don't know your exact time of birth. So pulling up your natal chart, we're going to be looking for Capricorn, more specifically anything between 11 to 26 degrees Capricorn. So first up, finding the house that 11 to 26 degrees Capricorn falls in on your chart. So your house will tell you the area of life that is going to be, I guess, most affected by Venus retrograde in Capricorn. So for a full list of the houses and what they mean, you'll find that in the show notes, which you'll find in the link below. So finding out the house will tell you that area of life that's coming up for you during Venus retrograde, but you can go a bit more specific by checking out if there's any planets there in Capricorn in your chart, especially between 11 to 26 degrees in Capricorn. These planets will be most affected by this Venus retrograde. So having a look there at those planets and understanding maybe what those planets mean for you on your chart and how this Venus retrograde could be affecting that. And of course, if you've got no idea about what I'm talking about, if you don't know how to read your chart, feel free to book in a reading with me. I'd be so happy to let you know exactly what's coming up for you this Venus retrograde, or any Venus retrograde, or any time. It's kind of what I love doing. You can book a reading with me at herbalmoongoddess.com, or the link is in the show notes as well. So basically, with Venus in retrograde through Capricorn at the end of 2021, the start of 2022, what we're going to be seeing here is a review of our long-term goals. Capricorn is all about those longer-term things that we're working towards, such as like our career or how we make an impact on our world. So those long-term goals that may take many, many years to manifest. So with Venus retrograding through Capricorn, it can be a really good idea to check in with goals that you maybe set 5 or 10 years ago, or whenever. Venus was last retrograde in Capricorn, I think in 2013 through to 2014, somewhere around there. So maybe having a look at what was going on in your life then, and what were the goals that you set back then. And maybe, you know, how far have you come towards those goals now? Maybe there's still some work to do, or maybe you've achieved that goal. So checking in with those longer-term goals that you've been working towards, that's probably one of the biggest themes that will come up with this Venus retrograde through Capricorn. The other thing that's going to come up with Venus retrograde through Capricorn is power struggles. Now, this I feel is probably one of the main sources of conflict with relationships as Venus retrogrades through Capricorn, because Venus will conjoin Pluto, who is currently hanging out in Capricorn as well. Pluto is all about power and growth and evolution, but specifically power, I feel like where there's Pluto there, it's going to really bring up issues like the dynamics in a relationship, like who wears the pants in the relationship sort of energy. So there could be like this sort of imbalance as you kind of figure out who really has the power in relationships that you're in. So that's something to review as well. There may be issues coming up with relationships, and you might find that it stems down to this power struggle. So yeah, contemplating how those power struggles are playing out in your relationships, and if they're maybe being a source of conflict during this Venus retrograde, and maybe seeing how you can heal this power struggle if that's something that you want to do. So that's pretty much it for Venus retrograde. In this episode, we've talked about what Venus retrograde means on a general level, the things that you should and shouldn't be doing when Venus is in retrograde, how to find out what this Venus retrograde in 2021 is all about by looking at your natal chart, as well as a general sort of overview of the energies that are coming up with Venus retrograde in Capricorn in 2021. So I hope that this episode has really uncovered a lot of information for you about Venus retrograde and retrogrades in general. Retrogrades are they're really fun times if you know how to use that energy wisely. It's not really something to be feared about. It's something that you can absolutely use to your advantage. So I hope that the tips in this episode really help you to understand how you can work with this Venus retrograde energy by reviewing your goals, reviewing your finances, your relationships, and beauty routines as well. So if this episode was really helpful for you, I'd love for you to hit the like button, hit subscribe, and yeah, I'd love to know if you have any questions about Venus retrograde. Feel free to hit me up on Instagram or Facebook at Herbal Moon Goddess. Now, if you are looking for the next step, if you're kind of curious about Venus retrograde and you'd like to know, well, when are the rest of the planets going to be in retrograde? Well, you can check that all out in the 2022 Moon Manifesting Planner. It contains everything that you really know about planning your life in alignment with the cosmos over the next year. You'll find all the planetary retrogrades as well as daily astrological transits, the moon sign and moon phase for each day, as well as tarot spreads and journal pages for your new and full moon rituals each month. There is so much jam-packed into the 2022 Moon Manifesting Planner, and you'll find this online through stores like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or you'll find the direct link in the show notes below. So you can create a magical year ahead. How exciting! So thanks so much for tuning into the Herbal Moon Goddess podcast today. I'm looking forward to talking to you next time. Bye for now.